last weekend? Sort of. You had the Chiefs, but Go Pack Go was no pack no for you.
At least one of our other betting experts, who is not here today. Of course, we hope Dave Weaver is feeling better.
Yeah.
He had Packers money line. I did not go that far. I was hot on the Chiefs, and yes, that did come in.
Well, we officially have our Super Bowl matchup set with the 49ers and the Chiefs, and we've got plenty to cover all the way down to the opening coin toss, which is always fun to discuss. There's also 12 NBA games on tonight's schedule, some great top 25 college basketball that we're going to break down from you, and we also have sports analytics expert Ed Egros joining us from Dallas. Check out his podcast called Hazard Play. New episodes released every Wednesday on iTunes and the Vocal app. And Ed, I will be in Dallas with you in just a few short hours, so I'm excited to catch up with you and talk more ways that we can make some money. But I know you're going to use your expert analysis right here to help our viewers out. So make sure you download the free FanDuel Sportsbook app right now. You'll be able to see the lines that we're talking about on the show, and you can place your bets in real time on the app. So sign up for an account using that promo code MOREWAYS25, and you get a free $25 bet plus a risk-free bet up to $500 in site credit. All right, Mark, Ed, it is time to get going, and we're going to get right into our Super Bowl coverage in a little bit. That was just a little teaser. But first, one of the most anticipated NBA games today with Pelicans' #1 draft pick Zion Williamson. He is making his NBA regular season debut tonight against San Antonio. New Orleans, to this point, has had the toughest schedule in the league, but have the 4th easiest forward. The Spurs come into this game as a 3.5-point dog with the total set at 237. Both of these teams play very high-paced, up-tempo offense. They're in the top 5 with total points scored per game. So, Mark, I'm starting with you here. Do you think the Pelicans ride the Zion hype train to an against-the-spread win tonight, or is it just not going to happen?
Well, first of all, you know it is going to be rocking inside one of the arenas that I love to say, the Smoothie King Center down there in the Crescent City of New Orleans. The much-anticipated debut of Zion Williamson. And the fact is that both these teams, Danny, were awful the first couple of months of the season, but in the last month, they both have started to find their way in the season. A very young Pelicans team, but then you look at the San Antonio Spurs. We're always used to the Spurs and to their winning ways. Greg Popovich has gotten them back on track. So to answer your question, I think this is a night, not only can they cover this, but this is going to be a high-scoring affair. Both of these teams have gone to the over more often than not so far this season. So I look at this game, I look for a high-scoring affair. Again, it's going to be loud, and the New Orleans Pelicans fans are going to really show their support. They finally get to see their guy. So it's a pretty small number here when we're talking about a 3.5, could be 3-point spread by the time we tip that game off. I will take the home team in this one.
All right, a little strawberry, almond milk, and Zion mixed around in that smoothie. Ed, the Spurs have won outright in 5 of the past 6 games where they were the dogs. So do you see that trend continuing tonight?
Well, it's an interesting deal because, like you mentioned, Rogo, this is something where both teams are on an upward trajectory, and coincidentally, both teams are scoring the same number of points, are very much close to it. So now the question is, what is your projection with Zion Williamson? What do you expect out of him now that he's coming back? So right now, it looks like the projections are that he'll score roughly 14 points, which is pretty impressive given the injury that he's had to overcome. But you can expect a lot out of this young man. We saw what he could do at Duke. It will be impressive, to say the least. Now, you're not going to just add 14 points to an average for the Pelicans and say that New Orleans is going to beat San Antonio by 14. He's going to take points away from somebody else. And so that's going to be the key in terms of how the offensive diversification is going to happen here. But if you say that he only adds half of his projection to the entire body of work by the Pelicans, then that means that they're 7 points better than the Spurs. And so to me, I think this is an easy decision. I'm also going to take the home team.
Well, there is plenty of ways to make money on the FanDuel Sportsbook app. In addition, betting NBA games straight up, there's also a ton of player props available. So, Mark, it is Zion's debut. I'm sure a lot of money will be put on his over-under totals tonight that Ed was just discussing against San Antonio. But what bet stands out to you?
Well, I also look at the points like Ed was talking about 13, 14 points. And then on top of that, I think you want to throw in there and talk about rebounding. If you look at the Pelicans, they don't have a huge presence in the middle. And in fact, they love the perimeter game. You have guys on the outside like Hart, Ingram, Drew Holiday that really like to shoot out from the perimeter. So I could see actually Zion really getting in there and adding to his rebounding total. And I don't just mean like 5, 6 rebounds. I could see him getting closer to 8, 9, maybe even even double-digit rebounds in this one. So for that, I think if you look at points and rebounds together, it's a possibility to sprinkle some money on the over here at that total at 19.5.
Well, the guy sure has the size to get that rebounding done, that's for sure. How about you, Ed? What bet stands out to you?
Well, it's fascinating because, like I said before, Zion's going to score, roughly 14 points, it seems like. So what does that mean as far as how everyone else performs? And I look at someone like Drew Holiday and figure, okay, is he going to have a similar production, or is this going to be something where it's more important for the Pelicans? Yeah, they want to win the game, but is it better for them to work in Zion and look for the rest of the season than it is to sort of try and make it work and win the game, and maybe Zion only gets a couple of baskets? So to me, this is a situation where, because Zion's going to get a little bit more activity, it's going to take away from offensive production from other players like a Drew Holiday. So in this case, with the market 20.5, I'm going to take the under for him.
All right, good stuff, guys. Over in the Eastern Conference now, two powerhouses are set to face off for the third time this season. The 76ers head to Toronto, a 6.5-point road dogs with a total of 217.5 points. Both teams have won 4 in a row, and the Raptors have been getting major contributions off the bench from Norman Powell. He's actually scored at least 20 points in each of the last 5 games since returning from injury. Mark, I'm going to start with you. What's your take on this game?
Well, first of all, I think you have to tip your cap to the Raptors, right? A team that won an NBA title a year ago. They lose their best player, Kawhi Leonard. He jets off to Southern California. And all of a sudden, guys like Fred VanVleet, Pascal Siakam have just become huge players for this Toronto team. They're also a really good team at home. And then you look on the flip side and you look at the Philadelphia 76ers, why they might be one of the best teams when it comes to what they can do at home playing at Wells Fargo Center. They're actually well under 500 on the road. And, of course, they're missing their best asset. I'm talking about Joel Embiid. So, for me in this one, it is a little bit of a big number when I look at 6.5 points. But Toronto, Danny, has been really good at home. And, in fact, they've blown out a lot of good teams at home. So, again, here in this situation, I'm going with the home team and giving that 6.5 points. And a little teaser here, I'll talk a little bit more about the total later on in the show.
Ooh, looking forward to that, of course. Ed, how are you betting this game?
Well, Toronto is clearly the better team, no doubt about it. But I don't think they're 6.5 points better. I think the spread is a little bit too big for my liking. Effective field goal percentage is actually roughly the same for both teams. Turnover rate is roughly the same. Definitely Toronto plays better defense. But even without Joel Embiid, Sixers do have a winning record. So keep that in mind in terms of being able to work without him. Embiid has not had that great of a season. I know he's a name, and I know that he's capable of a lot. His ceiling is, of course, very high. But it almost seems like the Sixers need to play without him just to sort of further that identity just a little bit. I think when Toronto goes big, that Philadelphia still matches up fairly well. This is not overwhelming for me in terms of the overall quality of both teams. I think Philly can cover the 6.5.
Let's have a little fun here, gentlemen. Usually I pick a player for you guys to have a prop bet to discuss. So, Mark, I actually am just going to leave this one up to you. Give me a player that you're betting to have a big game.
Wait a minute. Let me get this straight. I'm controlling my own fate right here?
Okay. This is your deal. No pressure.
I am actually going to go to Pascal Siakam. I mentioned how good he has been, especially since the departure of Kawhi Leonard from last season to this season. He has been a revelation. He has stepped right in, and his game has grown dramatically. As much as it grew last year with all the guys that were around him, it's gone even bigger this year, and his ability to score, but also his ability to find guys and set them up. I don't think we knew how good of a passer actually Pascal Siakam was until what we've seen from him this season. So for that reason, I'm going to go points and assists here tonight at 21.5. I don't think that's a huge number. This is easily a night when he could get to that 21.5 in points alone. You sprinkle in a couple of assists, and I think it's almost a lock.
All right, I like it. Ed, who are you taking to go off tonight?
Well, first off, I really love that bet, Rogo. Well done there. I'm with you as far as Siakam goes. It's not very often that you see a player really come into his own in the finals. It's an incredible deal. But here's something that I'm looking at on the other side. Ben Simmons, can he record a triple-double at plus 280? I think he can, and it might be a quiet triple-double, but he's definitely someone who can contribute in a variety of different ways. I know people give him a bunch of grief for his shot, things like that, but he can definitely get to the lane and get to the 10 like a Mack truck, and he is able to distribute, kick out, try and get someone open for 3. I think he has enough and is capable enough with a mid-range sort of pace kind of game where he can get that triple-double.
Plus 280 on that bet, Ed. I like it. Okay, let's move on now because the Lakers are heading to New York with the second best record in the league, facing a Knicks team with the third worst record. Two teams definitely heading in opposite directions, and the Knicks can only dream of a LeBron and AD tandem, right? The Knicks played their most complete game of the season in Cleveland on Monday night behind 6 different players scoring double digits. The Lakers, meanwhile, suffered their biggest defeat of the season on Monday, losing by 32 in Boston. Mark, coming to you first. The Lakers beat the Knicks in LA by 30 2 weeks ago. They come in tonight 11.5-point favorites. Do you think they can cover this?
Well, one thing that I do know about this Laker team is they have the ability to bounce back. We've seen them do that several times this season when they've had, it hasn't been many, but when they've had poor outings, as they did against Boston, losing by 32 the other night. So when I look at this Laker team here tonight, the other thing I look at, LeBron loves to be in big spotlight moments. You're playing in the mecca of basketball, Madison Square Garden, for this game. It's going to be a packed house.
People are there to see him.
They are there to see him and to see AD. So I look at this game tonight and the fact that they're coming off of a terrible performance against Boston. I know it's a pretty big number at 11.5. I always talk about it. I might go in there and buy a point and a half so you can take it down to 10. But you said it. They beat him by 30 in L.A. a couple of weeks ago. I think they win this game by 15+. You could even see LeBron limited minutes in the fourth quarter.
I like the analysis there, Mark. Ed, I'm coming to you now. The Lakers are 22-1 against teams with a losing record this year. Does that continue tonight?
Well, and that's just it, is that the Lakers have done an outstanding job taking care of the teams that they need to. Yeah, they struggled against, some teams with outstanding wing players, guys like that. But I look at what the Lakers are able to do, and, yeah, it all starts with LeBron James. I know he's getting older. He's got a lot of years of experience. He's coming off an injured season a year ago. But he is #1 in the NBA in real plus-minus. And he does it as a facilitator, great assist man working with AD. He's obviously done it with scoring. He's a great rebounder. He is still doing everything at an incredibly high level, and that is worthy of our respect, to say the least. So as for this game, pace of play roughly average for both teams. I'm staying away from the total as far as that's concerned. But Lakers have a way better effective field goal percentage. And LeBron has a sizable lead over second-place Giannis Antetokounmpo when it comes to real plus-minus. And so Knicks don't have anyone anywhere close to the top of that list. Really, nobody is going to be able to slow down LeBron in a game like this. Knicks also have the third worst offensive rating in basketball than the Lakers. So to me, slam dunk. Lakers cover that.
Well, let's finish up with some player props for tonight's game at MSG. Mark and Ed both talked about how they think LeBron will go off tonight. Just how much? Tell me more, Mark.
Well, I look at it tonight, and obviously LeBron, his assist numbers have been off the charts so far this season, hovering in double digits, hovering as the top assist man average per game guy per night in the NBA this season at times. I know he's going to get his points, but I just have a feeling, like it was when the first time these teams played in Southern California inside Staples Center, I have a feeling this game might be out of hand by the time we hit the fourth quarter. So I could actually see LeBron getting some time off in the fourth quarter, as I said a moment ago. So 36.5 points, points plus assists right there. You look at that number right there. Believe it or not, Ed, I'm going to go under here on this number. I see it being a 20-10 type of night for LeBron, and again, an easy win for the Lakers.
All right, going under there. Ed, which player are you looking at in this one?
Yeah, I might even be 15-15, Rogo. I think you may have a very high assist total trying to sort of be that facilitator. But let's look at Anthony Davis, and let's look at a parlay here. 25 points in a Lakers win. I'm agreeing with you. I think LeBron, he will have a fantastic outing. It may not necessarily be with his scoring, but you know in games like this, he's trying to get other teammates involved, which would include Anthony Davis. And so he may be someone who is LA's leading scorer here. And obviously the Lakers are going to win, so why not get a parlay out of it?
Man, guys, I like what you're coming up here. Maybe I'm out of a job in picking your prop bets for you because you guys did a really good job. We've got more NBA coverage coming up later on. Our experts will give us their picks for the rest of tonight's NBA slate with our rapid fire segment, which is always really fun. We see how good they are against the offensive shot clock, but you can check out those lines for those games and more on the free FanDuel Sportsbook app and even get free money to make your first bet. All you got to do is download the FanDuel Sportsbook app, sign up for an account using the promo code MOREWAYS25. You'll get a risk-free bet up to $500 in site credit and an additional $25 free bet. So make sure you sign up for a FanDuel account using the promo code MOREWAYS25. Take advantage of this awesome promotion. Make some money. All right, college basketball season has been wild, to say the least. We've already had 7 different programs ranked #1, which ties an NCAA record. Here's a look at some of the top 25 teams in action tonight. And it really has been a down year for the ACC, but not for the 6th-ranked Louisville Cardinals, who are coming off a road win at then 3rd-ranked Duke on Saturday, which was their first road win over a top 3-ranked opponent since 2010. And tonight, Louisville will host Georgia Tech, and the Cardinals are a 13.5-point favorite. So, Mark, who do you have in this one?
I have Louisville. I think Louisville, like many other of the top teams in college basketball, have started to learn their lesson that you cannot take nights off, as we've seen a lot of the top-ranked, including #1 teams, be knocked off so far in this college basketball season. So Louisville at home, they won 7 straight against Georgia Tech. They're coming off that huge win against Duke on the weekend. Can you imagine how loud it is going to be inside the arena there in Louisville? I look at this Cardinals team, and I think that they have been able to cover spreads so far this season. Again, they come in, I think, winners of 6 or 7 straight games. And you look at the three-point shooting, and I'll be interested to see what Ed says about these numbers. The three-point shooting is where I see a huge difference. Louisville, they rank top 15 in three-point shooting, and then you go over to Georgia Tech, they rank 322nd in three-point shooting in the nation. That's a huge discrepancy, and probably where the game will get away from Georgia Tech.
Ed, what stands out to you here?
Well, let me piggyback off of that idea. You mentioned the disparity in three-point shooting. Well, I'm a firm believer that three-point shooting defense really doesn't matter. If you are an outstanding shooting team from the perimeter, then you're going to get yours regardless of whatever looks you're getting around the perimeter. It's key because Georgia Tech, the reason why they're top 100 in KenPom is because of that defense. Well, Louisville should be able to take care of business with the 3-ball. And keep in mind when it comes to that upset win at Cameron Indoor Stadium against Duke, that it was a freshman stepping up. It's really supposed to be the juniors and seniors who are the stars for Louisville. So if the Cardinals are built to where just about anybody can come through, step up big, and get the Cardinals an outright win, then to me, that makes you a pretty dangerous team because you don't know who to guard. Louisville top 10 in KenPom. I think they can cover 13.5.
Threats all over the court. Good analysis there, Ed. Okay, well, next we have an Atlantic 10 matchup between St. Bonaventure and #7-ranked Dayton. The Flyers were a popular preseason pick to make a deep run in this year's NCAA tournament, and they've certainly backed it up on the court because Dayton comes into this game as the nation's 5th highest scoring offense and features 5 players averaging in double figures. Talk about threats all over the court, right? So, Ed, Dayton is a 17.5-point home favorite tonight with a total set at 137. So do the Flyers just keep it rolling?
Well, first off, the Bonnies play one of the slower paces in all of college basketball. So right away, I'm taking the under, even despite an outstanding offense by Dayton. But the Flyers, they continue to boast one of the better offenses in America. So even if they don't have too many possessions, you trust Obi Toppin and company to take care of business here. St. Bonaventure outside the top 100 in KenPom. Dayton has not had trouble beating teams by this mark, even if those opponents are not elite. So to me, 17.5 is just fine. It is going to be a little bit close, and so be careful with this one, but I do think Dayton can cover.
All right. Mark, what about you?
I look at this perfect home record for Dayton in this one, 10-0 at home. They put that on the line. I really don't think it's going to be too much trouble for them. And if you look at the line and the way it's moved, it actually started a little higher at 19 and then 18.5 and now down to 17.5 on the FanDuel Sportsbook site. So for me, I like the fact that there's been some public money trying to go and back St. Bonaventure. So for me, I'm actually going to back Dayton here in this one. You look at the Bonnies, yeah, they've only covered twice in their 7 games on the road so far this season, so you got to take the home team, I think.
All right, good stuff there, Mark. All right, let's head now to the Big East, where Providence has a date with the 10th-ranked Seton Hall Pirates, who have yet to lose in conference play. Seton Hall is led by senior guard Miles Powell, who is averaging 24 points, 6 rebounds over his last 6 games. The Pirates have covered the spread in 7 of their last 8 games and come in tonight as a 9-point favorite. So, Mark, what is your prediction for this one?
You mentioned the key guy. That's Miles Powell. He's one of the top scorers in the nation in college basketball right now, and he will continue to do that throughout the course of this season. Also, against the spread, really good so far this season for the Pirates. 7-1 at home against the number. I have them as 13-5 overall against the spread. I think that continues because it's not a huge number at just 9 points. We've seen Seton Hall in games so far this season show their ability to pull away. When he gets hot, Miles Powell, the rest of the guys around him start to get hot. He facilitates, he scores. I love Seton Hall in this situation.
Ed, what are your thoughts?
Well, actually, I'm going to back up Providence in this one. Seton Hall is solid, unbeaten in the Big East, on one of the longer winning streaks in college basketball. But those streaks are really hard to sustain over time, especially when you look at your priors. And yeah, Seton Hall was going to be a solid basketball team, but I'm not necessarily sure we ever thought that they were going to be a top 5, maybe even a Final 4 contender. So kind of keep that in mind in terms of the overall algorithms here. But also Providence, one of the better coach teams in America by those metrics. They are top 75 in KenPom, so they are certainly capable of keeping things close against Seton Hall. And to be 9 points is about right, but I do like the Friars here to cover.
I was waiting for the other shoe to drop there. You know, Ed and I had just been agreeing on so many things out there.
I was
just waiting for it to happen. It's all good. I still got a lot of love for you.
Oh, fine.
Guys, let's finish our college coverage here with a Big Ten matchup between 24th ranked Rutgers at 19 Iowa. And now we know this college season's been crazy, but how about this for crazy? Rutgers men's basketball is back in the top 25 for the first time in over 40 years. The last time they were in this spot was the 1978-79 season, where the Scarlet Knights were ranked 18th. And that is a major shout out to Rutgers head coach Steve Peichel, who coached at Stony Brook, guys. So, you know, he carried that success on over to Rutgers.
Wait. We're getting Stony Brook references here?
We got to throw Stony Brook references.
I didn't know that was coming out. Okay,
yep,
okay.
Yep. Steve Peichel led Stony Brook to their first NCAA appearance in school history, and now he is just turning the program around at Rutgers with not a single NBA guy on that roster, to be frank. Okay, now they've had an even better record in terms of team to bet on. Get this, they're 12-4-1 against the spread, which is 6th best among Division I programs. So, Mark, the Hawkeyes are laying 5.5 points to the Scarlet Knights at home. So what is your take on this one?
Well, I hate to burst the bubble a little bit here, but the Scarlet Knights are actually not a great road team so far this season. In fact, just 1-3 straight up on the road in this one. And I look at the offensive scoring between these two teams, and I know I probably sound a little bit like Ed when I'm going to some of these numbers here, but the discrepancy between how these offenses score is huge. You have the visiting team here in Rutgers ranking about 189 in scoring offense, and then on the other side you go to scoring offense for Iowa, and they're in the top 20. So for me, the fact that it's only 5.5, I got to go with the home team here.
All right, Ed, who do you have?
Well, I believe Iowa is largely run by Luka Garza, big man averaging a double-double. And if you go by KenPom, Iowa is actually a little bit better than the ranking suggests, and Rutgers is a little bit worse than the ranking suggests. Still a great accomplishment for the Scarlet Knights, no doubt about it. And certainly making the NCAA tournament is not out of the question for them. But this is an especially difficult challenge, especially if you're not used to playing a big man who sort of has his authority and it's all about pretty much taking care of everybody else. I think the unique matchup makes Iowa a rather decent favorite here.
All right, Mark, I do want to know your touchdown dance because we're going to move on to NFL now. Let's see it. So if you score a touchdown, what is it?
If you know this one, if anybody knows this one,
oh, wow. Look at that. For everyone, for America's sake, let's hope he doesn't.
I hope Ed knows. I hope Ed knows that one. That's the Merton Hanks, everybody. You guys remember that? The Merton Hanks?
It is going viral. Cannot wait to see this plastered around the internet. All right, let's get right into it. Super Bowl 54 features two historic franchises in the 49ers and the Chiefs for the NFL's 100th anniversary. Kansas City will play in their first Super Bowl in 50 years, while San Francisco will play in their 7th in franchise history. And this figures to be one of the closest Super Bowls in recent history, as the line opened up with the Chiefs as 1.5-point favorites. So, Mark, your initial reaction to this line?
I think that line is actually a little bit short. I think Kansas City offensively is a much better team than San Francisco, even though if you look at the bulk of the numbers through the entire regular season and talk about the San Francisco team, but it's who they played early on in the season. They were playing teams like the Browns, the Steelers without Ben Roethlisberger, the Rams, who were down very early in the season. You even look, they played the Washington Redskins. So the teams that they were beating up on and scoring a lot of points, for me, that's not going to hold water in the magnitude of a game like this. So I like Kansas City, and I think the number is short. It started as a pick'em, basically, Danny, and now it's moved up to 1.5 on the FanDuel Sportsbook site. But for me, my early thought is, God, I want to chunk some money on the Kansas City Chiefs.
Ed, what about you?
I definitely feel the same way in terms of liking Kansas City a good bit more from the onset. But there are two things that I think are important when it comes to why the 49ers definitely have a possibility of winning this game outright. Number one, when it comes to offensive EPA, yeah, the Chiefs are now number 1, but San Francisco is 5th in this department. So then look at the other side of the football. San Francisco is second in defensive EPA, which can be a little bit more volatile than offense, yes, but it's still outstanding nonetheless. Kansas City ranks 17th out of 32 teams in defensive EPA. So I think it's the star power defensively for San Francisco in terms of D Ford, Richard Sherman, et cetera. A lot of household names on that defense. I'm not exactly sure you can say quite the same other than maybe the Honey Badger for Kansas City. But to me, it's star power that's sort of running a game like this. And also, too, when you look at Super Bowl history, especially over the last several years, all of these games have largely been decided by one possession. So I think that alone means that the spread probably won't budge very much from where it is.
Well, guys, the big game is still 2 weeks away, so there's plenty of time to make your bets on the FanDuel Sportsbook app. But here's a look at the percentage of the bets that are coming in for both the spread and the money line. 66% of the bets at the FanDuel Sportsbook are on the Chiefs, giving the 1.5 points. And, guys, I got to ask you, Mark, we talked about this prior to the show. Is your pick stuck in cement, or can you be swayed later on?
I can certainly be swayed, and then you go to the money line right there, and I think people are thinking, hey, you're going to get a little more value when you look at the 49ers as far as the money line, with 63% of money line bets coming in on the 49ers. In fact, I've also seen some social media posts that have talked about some of the biggest bets, Danny, that have come in have been on the 49ers on the money line. I'm not stuck in cement just yet. I want to see things like injury report. I want to hear guys in media day and how they talk about how they're acclimating to this type of environment. I mean, this is a huge thing when you're talking about some of these young players that getting an opportunity. I mean, I know Jimmy G, he's been well seasoned during his time with New England and learning from the best in Belichick and Brady, but this is a whole different scenario with the spotlight on him, Ed, I think.
I'm not sure if Ed heard you, but I'm going to...
Yeah, it's definitely something...
Oh, God, okay.
I'm talking to you, Ed.
Yeah, no, it's definitely something... No, of course you are. I'm never listening. You know that. I just kind of go my own spiel here. No, I look at something where, yeah, the Super Bowl preps are huge, you know, media day, all those kinds of things are important. But I always look at the second-tier guys, maybe even third-tier guys, because how many Super Bowls have we watched where somebody random steps up and makes a huge play offensively or defensively? Definitely guys like McCole Hardman for the Chiefs, someone like that. It's going to be those other level guys, those other tiered guys who I'm going to be watching especially carefully, because they tend to be the ones who make the biggest plays, because when you have this much time to prepare, you got to get somebody else in there, somebody else involved, and you have the practice time to be able to pull it off. And so to me, who is more complete? Who is someone random who might be able to step up where there's at least a little bit of data that they're capable of doing it? That's the research that I'm doing at this point.
All right, great stuff, guys. I appreciate it. Let's move on now, because we've got to take a quick break before we be able to jump into what else is coming on. So make sure you stay with us. We've got a lot more to talk about, a whole lot more to talk about. Stay with us. We'll be back in a couple minutes.
Do you want to bet the next race and don't have a TVG account? Get the TVG mobile app and sign up. It's fun, easy, and it's TVG. I'll show you how it works. When you bet the horse that wins, you win money too. With the TVG app, select your horse, bet type, and wager amount. Place your bet and watch the race live. Download the app and sign up now, or go to TVG.com. Join now and get a risk-free bet up to $200. TVG, your best bet.
Real players, real stories.
First I saw the commercial, then my friend recommended Betfair, and I signed up that day.
On Betfair Casino, you can play your favorite casino games anywhere in New Jersey, including blackjack, roulette, slots, and more.
It's just so much fun.
When I play online, I prefer Betfair.
No long drives to the casino. No hassle.
If you're still driving to the casinos, save the gas and tolls. Put that money in your pocket.
Joining is easy. Go to BetfairCasino.com or download the app and sign up today.
I saw the commercial on TV, downloaded the app, and within minutes I was playing.
And now, when you join, you can play your first day risk-free up to $200.
You sign up, you play your first day risk-free. How great is that?
I've played those other online casinos, but for me, Betfair is the best.
I wish I signed up earlier. It's just so much fun.
Join the fun today at Betfair Casino.
I wish there were more ways to win at this. Like how FanDuel gives you more ways to win every week this fantasy season. Not just more ways to win, more winners too. More than one winner? No. More than 100,000 winners every week. Hey, ref, he's mustered it!
There's more ways to win this season on FanDuel. Make your first deposit and get a $20 bonus.
Here is a look inside the FanDuel Sportsbook at the Meadowlands. If you live in New Jersey or you're just visiting the area, check it out. It looks like so much fun. Look at that place, the FanDuel Sportsbook. You can take advantage of the self-betting machines, enjoy watching the games on the hundreds of TVs, and you can instantly deposit or withdraw money from your online FanDuel account there. I mean, it sounds like an adult just playground. You're going to make money, you get to eat, drink, have some fun. Sportsbook at the Meadowlands. Make sure you check it out, give it a chance, have some fun, make some money. All right, guys, it's rapid fire analysis time with some more NBA game picks on this busy Wednesday night. Yep, warm up your fingers. Let's go. Mark, it's you first. You are on the clock. The Grizzlies are in Boston tonight and are getting 7 points. So who you got?
Well, despite the fact that Boston has not been in good shape lately, their overall record, I know they're coming off that big win against the LA Lakers. I think they are starting to get 100% healthy, and I think at home they will be a tough out against a Memphis team that has won 8 of their last 10 games. Ja Morant was down in the last game for Memphis, but I don't think he can produce enough in a situation like this. Give me the Celtics laying the points.
Just at the buzzer there,
Bingo.
Mark. Very impressive. Ed, it is your turn now. You've got the Nuggets at the Rockets. Houston's been struggling a bit lately, and tonight's line is Rockets minus 8.5. So who are you taking?
Well, the Rockets turn it over at a higher rate, which is a little bit alarming given the star power that they have offensively. Also, not as rebounding, so Denver gets extra possessions even despite a lower effective field goal percentage. 4-game losing streak should be a cause for concern. Westbrook largely taking over. This offense really is built around James Harden. He really does need to be the leading scorer for the Rockets to really shine, so I like Denver covering here.
Man, Ed, you almost had an off-the-ball foul there that you didn't even realize was happening to you. But we got most of what you were saying, and I appreciate it, and you made it before the buzzer, so that's what counts. Mark, back to you with the Pacers continuing their road trip in Phoenix. The Suns are a 1-point favorite with a total of 221.5. So what's your pick?
Well, you look at this Indiana Pacers team, and they are almost completely back to healthy. Victor Oladipo should be coming back in the coming weeks. They just came off one of the toughest back-to-backs in all of the NBA, winning in Denver, then going to Salt Lake City to play the Jazz the next night. They split in that. Now they've had a chance to rest out in the desert there in Arizona. Gosh, I cannot believe that this has gone from 1-point favorite to 1-point favorite for the Pacers. Give me the Pacers!
Wow! I was for sure about to jump on you for not making it in time, but you did it. You threw it up there.
It was out of my fingertips.
It might have hit the rim. I'm not sure if it swished, but you got it off. That's for sure. Okay, Ed, your turn again. The Clippers are playing in a back-to-back. Tonight they are in Atlanta as a 4-point road favorite with a total of 233 points. So how are you betting this one?
Well, I don't have to tell you guys the importance of back-to-back games in terms of your betting, and the Clippers are on the second of a back-to-back on the road, so that's especially key for a team where you don't exactly know who's going to play and how minute management is going to work, because that is all they care about in Los Angeles. I'm going to take Atlanta here.
Wow, with a ton of time to spare, you got any more things to say? I mean, that was impressive. Made his point, got right to it. Awesome.
I do the Mike D'Antoni offense where I just kind of get it done and get it over with quickly.
Up-tempo, push and transition. I like it.
Exactly.
Okay, Mark, we've got more NBA a little bit later on, but we're going to finish right now with our OKC in Orlando game here. The Magic are 1.5-point favorites with an over-under 209.5 points. So who are you taking?
Well, sometimes you take a good shot even when you get it early in the shot clock here. So I'll keep it short and sweet. OKC got them by 8 the last time these teams met back in November. Classic revenge scenario here for the Orlando Magic. Also, Steven Adams likely out with an ankle sprain he picked up in the last game for the Thunder. I'll take the Magic giving a 1.5 at home.
Wow. Is that an ill-advised 3-point shot?
No. It was good ball rotation. It came to me for a corner three, and I just took it.
Knocked it down. Great stuff, guys. Okay, let's take a look at the prop bets for this big game. I want you guys to break down some of the more popular player props that are available. Ed, I'm going to start with you, and we're going to go back to the NFL here. I should make that clear. We're going to start with Patrick Mahomes. His total is set at 297.5 passing yards. You got to be ready with me, okay? Both the over and under are -112. I just switched gears with you, so go from basketball to NFL. But do you think he will hit that number? We're talking Patrick Mahomes, 297.5 passing yards.
That stabilizing factor in Dave Weaver's not there, so I understand. Sometimes, your plus minus there is key here. Chiefs are going to pass the football, no doubt about it, and they're going to do it regardless of what the score is. They do pass a lot, even when they have a sizable lead in the second half, so keep that in mind. Also, they will not resort to the ground game very much at all. Pat Mahomes, 8th in football and on-target percentage, and given he'll throw the deep ball and throw to one of the more reliable tight ends in all of football, he is one of the more accurate quarterbacks in the NFL, not to mention one of the great quarterbacks in the NFL. That should be, yes, against an outstanding pass defense, but you trust an offense more than a defense. I can see 300 passing yards easily for Mahomes. Take the over.
All right, great stuff, Ed. That was really impressive to just kind of flip the switch like that.
That's what we do. That's what we do, Danny.
So are you ready, Mark? You ready for some football? Okay, here's your prop. On the other side here, Jimmy Garoppolo. His passing yards total is 242.5. Both are also -112. He only threw the ball 8 times last week, so I'm thinking he's going to need to do more than that to hit this total. So what do you think?
Danny, it's a really key number right there at 242.5, and I say that because if he gets to that number, then it likely means that San Francisco is winning this game.
Right.
For me, they like to run the ball probably 66, 70% of the time if they want to have some success. For me, I don't think he gets to this number. I see San Francisco trying to control the clock for 3/4 of the game. As we know by the spread, this is going to be a very close game. So I see them trying to control the clock, using that running game. I mean, they have 3 great running backs that have all had success this season. So I don't see him throwing the ball a ton, let alone deep down the field. Yes, underneath to George Kittle and getting him involved.
Right.
But I think under on this number is the right play.
All right. Interesting stuff. Ed, I want to move on to you. And one of Mahomes' most favorite targets, Travis Kelce, has an over-under of 73.5 receiving yards. That's getting -112 odds. So do you see Mahomes looking Kelce's way often?
Well, nobody has more effective yards by a tight end than Travis Kelce. Half of his games have gone over the 73.5 mark, but half have gone under. Some of that is because he's had to play with an injured Pat Mahomes or an absent Pat Mahomes. But one of those that did go under was against the Titans just a week ago. I do expect a bounce back, positive regression to the mean here, so give me the over.
All right, Mark, same thing for Jimmy G. He has a beast of a tight end of his own, George Kittle, whose over-under receiving total is similar to Kelce's, 71.5 for him. He had just 1 catch last week, but his services were barely needed against Green Bay. So what do you think they need to do to get Kittle to get going in order to have a shot at hitting this number?
Well, you guys, the big difference in this one is the fact that as far as defending the tight end, San Francisco is much better at defending the tight end than Kansas City is. In fact, Kansas City surrendered in top 5 yardage in catches to tight ends over the course of the season. So for that reason, I'm going over here. It's the safety blanket for Jimmy G. He's going to find George Kittle all afternoon long out there in the Miami sun. So I think you got to go over 71.5. That's, if you were looking at his totals for the season, you'd be like, oh, he can get over 71.5 all the time. In a big situation like this, I think he's the main target. He will lead the Niners in receiving yards.
Some great stats there. Hard to argue. And no matter what kind of bets you prefer to make, it's all available on the free FanDuel Sportsbook app. And we'll even give you a free $25 to place your first bet. Here is how you get the cash. Just download the FanDuel Sportsbook app and sign up for an account using the promo code MOREWAYS25. You'll get a risk-free bet up to $500 in site credit and an additional $25 free bet. So make sure you sign up for a FanDuel account. Use the promo code MOREWAYS25. And player props are always a fun way to bet, but FanDuel gives you a chance to combine multiple bets in the same game. And we're the only ones that give you this option. So it's called Single Game Parlay. It can increase your odds and lead to a very big payout. Who doesn't love a good payout? And Mark, you're over at the touchscreen for me with the FanDuelSportsbook.com. Right behind you, you can see the beautiful website. So kind of show me how we can make some good money with a good payout here.
Well, Danny, let me ask you first. Did you say $25?
$25.
Okay, I'm going to use that $25. I'm going to come here to the site, and of course we're talking about the big game, right? So I'm going to go inside that game to more wagers, and this is where you hit that button, same game parlay. You have a ton of options. I think I've said early on, right, that I in fact like the Chiefs minus 1.5 in this one, and I like it. We haven't talked about the total just yet, but I like it going under the number of 54 because I think it's going to be a pretty close game between these two teams. So that's your traditional two-team parlay, if you will, set up so far. But let's add some other things to it that I think are really going to come through. First touchdown scorer, I talked about George Kittle a moment ago. I'm going to go to him at plus 850 to score the first touchdown in this one. And then on top of it, I'm going to come all the way down here. I like Kansas City to win the game. They are the home team, so I'm going to go over 27.5 total points for the Kansas City Chiefs in this game. So we've put all those things together over here. And if I come over here and I put in that 25, you ready for this, Danny? I hope you're ready for this.
I am.
$25 is paying out $5,346 and a little bit of change right there.
No way.
For 4 things right there.
And the $25 was a free additional bet.
That's the free additional bet right there.
That's crazy.
What do you think Ed Egros is thinking about this right now? Is this a money maker right now, Ed? I mean, you have to think. The George Kittle thing is the one thing. And even, by the way, if you wanted to take that George Kittle first touchdown out, you also could take that out, and you could come back here to George Kittle and just say anytime touchdown. Where am I at? Anytime touchdown is right here. Anytime touchdown scorer. You could add George Kittle back in at 120, and now you're still at plus 3,100. 25 to win 786. But do you think he's going to score first, or just get him to score overall at all?
I just liked the payout when it was that $5,000 mark. In my head, the amount of shoes and clothing that I could come up with that $5,000. Awesome stuff. Great insight. Guys, go check out sportsbook.fanduel.com. Don't go anywhere because we've got more NBA coverage on the other side of the break. We're going to recap some of the most intriguing bets for Super Bowl 54, and Mark and Ed will give us their best bets for tonight. You don't want to miss it. We're back in 2 minutes.
Never miss a moment of the action with the brand new Watch TVG app, available in high definition on Amazon Fire, Apple TV, and Roku. Finally, you can enjoy your favorite racing from the best tracks in the U.S. and across the globe without a cable subscription. And better yet, we'll bring you exclusive content, expert handicapping, and the latest news from the racing world 24 hours a day. Download the Watch TVG app now. TVG, your best bet.
Real players, real stories.
First, I saw the commercial, then my friend recommended Betfair, and I signed up that day.
On Betfair Casino, you can play your favorite casino games anywhere in New Jersey, including blackjack, roulette, slots, and more.
It's just so much fun.
When I play online, I prefer Betfair.
No long drives to the casino. No hassle.
If you're still driving to the casinos, save the gas and tolls. Put that money in your pocket.
Joining is easy. Go to betfaircasino.com or download the app and sign up today.
I saw the commercial on TV, downloaded the app, and within minutes I was playing.
And now, when you join, you can play your first day risk-free up to $200.
You sign up, you play your first day risk-free. How great is that?
I've played those other online casinos, but for me, Betfair is the best.
I wish I signed up earlier. It's just so much fun.
Join the fun today at Betfair Casino.
I wish there were more ways to win at this. Like how FanDuel gives you more ways to win every week this fantasy season.
Exactly. With single game contests, you can play just the matchups you really care about.
There's more ways to win this season with single game contests on FanDuel. Make your first deposit and get a $20 bonus.
Welcome back to More Ways to Win. There are 4 more NBA matchups on tonight's schedule. I want our experts to weigh in with some more rapid fire analysis because it's a whole lot of fun. And Ed, I am coming to you first. The Wizards are at the Heat tonight, and the Heat are 9.5-point home favorites with the total set at 228.5. So how are you betting this one?
Line keeps going up and up and up for Miami, which could be a problem here because, yeah, winning percentage is lopsided with the Heat actually in contention. Washington not being in contention. But it looks like Bradley Beal perhaps has recovered from his injury quite nicely, missed the meeting in which the Wiz knocked off the Heat. So I would not be surprised if he plays limited minute to give Washington an additional opportunity. I think the Wiz can cover here at 10.
Wow, just the nick of time. Impressive, Ed. Okay, Mark, your turn. The Jazz make the short trip to San Francisco to face Golden State, and Utah is giving 7.5 points to the Warriors tonight. Total is 217.5. So what is your pick?
Strike up the band, the Jazz, all day, every day here in this one. Utah's been playing some of their best basketball of the season over the last month. They've been one of the hottest teams in the NBA during that time as well. Plus, they're now 100% healthy. Donovan Mitchell, Mike Conley, Bogdanovich, all of those guys are scoring. The last time these teams met, they were able to all go for 20-plus. Chance to sweep the Golden State Warriors this season.
I don't know.
It was out of my fingertips.
We'll give it to you because I like it.
Should we go to replay?
we might need to do that. And coming to you, Sacramento heads east to battle Detroit. The Kings are laying 1.5 points to the Pistons with a total of 224.5. So how are you betting this?
Well, even without Reggie Jackson, the Pistons are the clearly much better offensive team with Derrick Rose and Andre Drummond. Not to mention, I think it's important for Detroit to really highlight those guys because I think the Pistons are pretty much out of contention, and it's important to trade those pieces and look ahead to the future. So it's especially imperative for those guys to play well, and I especially think against Sacramento, they should be able to do that. Give me the Pistons.
Great job today, Ed. You are done with this rapid-fire analysis with the NBA. But, Mark, you have the last one here. It's Minnesota in Chicago to battle the Bulls. Chicago is getting 1.5 points at home tonight with the over-under set there at 220.5.
Sometimes you look at a line and you know that something is a little bit fishy. The fact that there's getting 1.5 points, the Bulls are at home against a team that's lost 6 straight games coming into this one in the Minnesota Timberwolves. Well, I'll tell you why. The Cat is back. Karl Anthony Towns, their leading scorer, he's back and healthy. He will go off in this game tonight. The T-Wolves handled the Bulls twice easily last season. Take Minnesota.
Good job, guys. And you know what? These players in college all dream to play in the NBA one day, right? So we're going to go from the NBA back to college real quick because these guys got a big dream, and another big dream, obviously, is to win in March Madness and to hold that national championship trophy. And in just 2 months, that will happen. No real consistent #1 team this year. This leaves the door open for so many programs to damage in the tournament. It's going to be fun. Guys, tell me a team that you'd put your money on to be represented in this year's Final Four. Right now, one of the favorites is Gonzaga at +125, and that's more respect than the AP poll has given the Zags. They went from #1 to 2 in the country, and all they did was win. I don't understand. But, Mark, coming to you first, who's going to make the Final Four?
I'm going to stay out in that Western region right now, Danny. And I know you're not supposed to bet with your heart, but I'm going to hope this is also betting with my head. I'm taking my alma mater here, the San Diego State Aztecs. Look at the number you're getting right here, at +400. They are a team that many have been saying is similar to the team that was led by Kawhi Leonard that went all the way to the Sweet 16 several years back. I look at this team, and their ability to play defense is what separates them. They can lock teams down. They have 3 JC transfers that have come in and made immediate impacts. I love the Aztecs, and not just because I graduated from there.
Malachi Flynn, Matthew Mitchell, KJ Fagan. Unbelievable team. Great choice there. I like it a lot. Ed, how about you?
Well, there are 4 teams currently in the top 4 in KenPom right now. You've got Kansas, you've got Duke, you've got Gonzaga, and you've got Baylor. Now, obviously, matchups matter in the tournament, and certainly if you come across a tough situation, that's going to make it impossible for you to make the Final Four. But keep in mind with Kansas, had Udoka Azubuike played last season, then to me the Jayhawks would have been a Final Four team, but they fell well short of that in the tournament. So assuming he's healthy, I expect positive regression to the mean. Not to mention KU was a preseason Final Four team. Your priors matter in a situation like this. So to me, the high expectations will be met for Kansas.
Will they, though? Because, Ed, quick question. There was something that was pretty controversial that happened last night. You still stick with that? You think that these players are going to make it all the way through the season?
Yeah, who's going to be there, Ed?
I mean, who's going to be on the team?
That just shows the grittiness of the Kansas Jayhawks to be able to take care of business there. I have a problem with it, but still, though.
You try to say you don't have a problem with it, but
I'm a lover, not a fighter, but still, though, I'm sticking with my Kansas Jayhawks.
And Ed, I was going to say, kind of a chalky pick by you right there, but now it's not so chalky based on what happened against K-State last night. Obviously, time will tell.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah, just wait for the odds to bump a little bit, and it'll be all right.
Oh, man, just ugly for college basketball. Okay, so let's wrap up with our Super Bowl preview now, shall we, between the 49ers and the Chiefs. For Kansas City, this will be their first trip to the big game in 50 years. Just awesome. And while San Francisco will play in their 7th Super Bowl game in franchise history, this figures to be one of the closest Super Bowls in recent history as the line opened up with the Chiefs as 1.5-point favorites. Super small. Mark, what is your initial reaction to this?
Well, we talked about it a little bit earlier here in the show, the fact that I like the number for the Kansas City Chiefs, but I want to point out to a kind of a scenario that we should really keep an eye on, and that is third down efficiency for the San Francisco defense against the Kansas City offense. The Kansas City offense, Danny, has been one of the best in the NFL, second best, in fact, to converting on third down. You look at San Francisco, the 3 times that they lost, they struggled to get off the field on third down. We know Patrick Mahomes, his ability to extend plays, get outside the pocket, and he's got all sorts of weapons all over the field. I think that is going to be the difference. If Kansas City is converting third downs, especially early in this game, it's going to be a long afternoon for the 49ers. I'm sticking with Kansas City right now, but we'll wait and see how that changes a little bit.
You're not set in stone on that.
Hey, I still got 10 days. I got 2 weeks.
Quite a few days away. Ed, how about you?
Well, the 49ers defense, they've done an outstanding job generating pressure. Second best in football, especially when Dee Ford is in the mix. Keep him in mind when placing your wagers, folks. Chiefs don't really generate pressure too much. So I expect Jimmy G to have a clean pocket more frequently than Pat Mahomes. However, even though he hasn't been 100% for some of the season, Mahomes ranks 7th in yards per scramble. He also has arguably too many weapons who can eventually get open, even guys that you may not know about. You know about Tyreek Hill, you know about Travis Kelce. But again, it's that second tier, the third tier of targets. I think those are the guys you need to watch out for carefully. So no matter how well the Niners secondary performs, I think Pat Mahomes can beat that. And in the preliminary sense, Rogo, I'm taking the Chiefs.
All right, now to the total for the big game, because it is currently set at 54 points. The Chiefs and their high-octane offense has covered the total in each of their last 3 games. However, the under has gone 7-4 all time in Super Bowl matchups where the total has been set in the 50s. So, Mark, I'm going to start with you. Are you expecting these teams to light up the scoreboard, or is that just a little bit too high for you?
It's a little too high for me. My initial thoughts are, yes, that's a really high number. And in fact, we were talking with some of the producers out there before we came on the air and talking about other games. And based on looking at those numbers, I mean, if you thought Seattle, New England a few years back was a high-scoring Super Bowl, that would have been under that 54 number and finished on 52. So for me, I just don't see this 49ers offense having the ability to keep up with what the Chiefs can do. We've seen that for the last couple of weeks. My one concern might be the fact that, yes, Kansas City has started slow against Tennessee and Houston each of the last 2 weeks, but I'm hoping that given the time off, 2 weeks in between and kicking off the big game, they remedy that. They're ready for a hot, fast start under Andy Reid. So for me, I'm actually going to go under here because I don't see San Francisco getting to 20, 21 points.
All right. Well, you make a good point there, Ed. I'm going to finish with you. What are the numbers telling you in this matchup in terms of the total here at 54?
Well, it's tricky because Mahomes actually has a negative completion percentage over expected for the season, which is amazing to think about given how well he has performed even when he was hurt. Jimmy Garoppolo does okay in that department. He's 9th in the NFL this year. He does have a short average distance to throw. It's all about his receivers getting yards after completion. But if he's taking on a great pass defense, then they're not going to get a lot of yards after completion. So to me, the Niners offense is a real cause for concern. So right now, I'm taking the under here.
Great stuff, guys. Well, we all know it's a whole lot of fun to bet not just the spread or total for the Super Bowl, but the many, many prop bets that are available on the FanDuel Sportsbook app as well. So here's some good prop bets for you. I need your expert analysis on. Ed, I'm coming to you first. Both teams to score at least 25 total points. If you think that's a yes, you get a return of almost 2-1 on your money. And if you're thinking no, the odds drop to -225. So what do you think?
Well, first off, the non-analytical reason why you would go with the no is you're not sure if the players are going to feel any additional nerves. And a Super Bowl definitely feels differently than any other football game because of the additional pauses. The breaks last a lot longer. The halftime's a lot longer. So I think that actually does matter because you're not necessarily setting your rhythm like you would any other game. So that is important. The other thing, too, is San Francisco does have one of the slower paces of play in the National Football League, so they're not going to have as many drives, not as many possessions. And if things go south for them, then they're not going to have many opportunities to play catch-up. I'm going to go with no here.
All right. Mark, both teams' total points are set to 27. So for both teams to put up 25 doesn't seem too unrealistic, and you're getting great odds, too. So do you see it happening?
It does seem unrealistic to me. No, I don't think both teams will get to 25 points or higher in this one. I said a moment ago, I see the 49ers having a little bit of trouble getting to 21, 20 points in this game. So, and there's a reason why it's juiced a little heavier on the no in this one. So I will say no on that prop bet. By the way, prop bets are where you can get a lot of the better edges when you're looking to get. It's not always the side and the total. If you spend some time and you look through the prop bets on the FanDuel Sportsbook site, that is where you're going to actually find some edges and be able to make some money.
Oh, I like that. Good advice right there. That's why we have them, right? Next, I want you to give me your picks for anytime touchdown scorer. So, Ed, I'm going to start with you here. Who do you got?
Anytime touchdown scorer. I want to find some value here, and I mentioned McCole Hardman earlier in the show, and to me, he could very well be that guy. High touchdown rate in certain spurts of the season. And this is something where you trust the Niners coaching staff to be able to handle the Tyreek Hills of the world and the Travis Kelce's of the world. So who are going to be the other options for Pat Mahomes? Because he certainly has a lot of them. To me, McCole Hardman is one of the more talented and athletic targets for the Kansas City Chiefs. And I love that payout at plus 390.
Mark?
Well, what do you know, Ed? We started on the same foot together early in the show, and it looks like as we get toward the end of our hour right here, no, we're staying and coming back together here. Listen, we don't talk about this before we come on the air. It's all done through the producers and emails and text messages, but I say McCole Hardman as well. You want to find value when you're looking at a pick like this, and Tyreek Hill is going to be covered all day long by Richard Sherman. So I think at times you use Tyreek Hill and as well as Travis Kelce as decoys underneath. Hardman, 4.2 speed in the 40. The guy is a burner. He's going to be able to hit a couple of times over the top, and we know Pat Mahomes will take some shots.
Well, when you two agree, I feel like that's almost a great thing for our viewers and bettors because that's two expert bettors here telling you to check out McCole Hardman. I mean, maybe you should pay attention to that. Throw some money that way. All right, lastly, I got to know who your Super Bowl MVP is going to be when it's all said and done. So, Ed, I'm going to go to you first. Sell me on someone that's not named Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, it is a complete coincidence that Mark and I are agreeing so much. We're not even allowed to talk to each other, per rules, I believe.
You're dead to me.
Or even, look at each other, really. No, when you look at the history of Super Bowl MVPs, if it's not a quarterback, it's either a linebacker or a receiver. Yeah, we've talked about McCole Hardman a good bit, but to me, I'll go a little bit safer as far as an MVP bet is concerned, maybe even hedge my bet a little bit, and I like Tyreek Hill here. I think he makes a lot of sense. Top receiver in terms of weighted opportunity. May take some time for him to get going, but you know he can score off of chunk plays. And even if Kansas City doesn't score a ton, Tyreek Hill's certainly capable of scoring. He's my guy here.
All right, Mark, is Mahomes your guy?
He is. It's a little chalky here, but I should say Mahomes, obviously the odds are much less than what you're going to get with Tyreek Hill. But again, going back to Ed and I not talking but agreeing on similar bets, right underneath it I have written sprinkle some on Tyreek Hill, and I think the public is agreeing with that as well because as of yesterday early, it was at plus 2,000, and now it's down to 17-1.
I'm adding in my own little prop bet here, guys. Coin toss? Okay, get this. 5 of the last 6 have gone tails. Ed, quick.
Tails.
Mark?
Never fails.
Tails never fails. All right, well, there you guys go. I mean, you have it. After all that analysis, that was the hard-hitting question I wanted to get to. But now I also have to know, of course, who your best bets are for tonight. So, Mark, who are you rolling with?
Well, when you give a tease early on in the TV business, right, you always have to punch through and hit it later on once you come to the end of the show. So for me, my best bet is actually over in the Philadelphia-Toronto game. I said Toronto has had the ability to put up points, especially when they play at home. I see this as a back-and-forth, high-running affair between these two teams. The number actually yesterday when I looked at it was 218.5. It's come down a whole point, which means a little bit of public money there. Sometimes, going to go where the sharp money is. So for me, it's over in the Toronto-Philadelphia game.
Ed, Ed, can't forget about you. Who is your best bet tonight?
The Richmond Spiders win and cover against LaSalle. Blake Francis is a dangerous scorer at close to 18 points a game. Spiders are 72nd in Ken Palm, while LaSalle is 170th, roughly 100 spots away. Richmond is at home. Home court advantage seems to matter just a little bit more this season. Not to mention LaSalle's offense ranks in the 240s. So if Richmond jumps out to an early lead, I do not see the Explorers catching up. Not to mention Danny loves Spiders, so why not go with Richmond?
Yes!
Rich what? Yes. Richmond. Rich what? Right? Is that a thing? I feel like that was like...
Is that a thing?
Sure. Why not?
I'm actually not scared of spiders. It's actually the mouse that Mark was telling me about prior to this show that I'm terrified of.
True story.
It's unbelievable. Yeah. Gross. Okay, thanks so much, Ed. You were awesome today. That is a wrap of the FanDuel's More Ways to Win. Not only is it thanks to Ed, thanks to Mark as well, and thanks to all of you guys for tuning in with us. Thanks for hanging out with us. We cannot wait to see and hear from you on social media how you did on your bets. Best of luck.